You're watching the All 32 podcast or listening with yours truly, Mike Giardi. Tuesday, October 14th, 3:11 in the afternoon. It's Titans week, which means Mike Vrabel and a bunch of people from New England going back to where they started their NFL careers or had success. And we had to bring in my guy, Buck Reising, 104.5, the best radio show in Nashville, at least the best radio show in Nashville, with a co-host named Lucas, right? A to Z Sports, where he's just a content magnet, just producing so much stuff, and now also can be heard nationally on the weekends, much to my chagrin, on Fox Sports Radio, the aforementioned Buck Reising. Buck, so great to see you. I've missed you. I can't even begin to speak of just how much I've needed you back in my life.
Are you going to lie to the audience and tell them that we did 20 minutes of podcast?
I couldn't even get that last part out.
Yeah, because I made fun of Giardi. Karma's a bitch, and I nuked the initial recording of this podcast.
You did.
But it's fine because I don't do many interviews anymore because I'm talking enough myself. So I don't normally agree to podcasts, but because I love Giardi, and God knows I love the toxicity of Patriots Titans this week, I am 100% all the way in. Let's do it, baby.
So I want to start backwards because I do want to talk about your football team and the hell that it's going through. They just fired Brian Callahan on Monday, introduced Mike McCoy, who I didn't even know was still in the league, as the interim head coach. He got very emotional in his introductory press conference a short time ago. But I want to go backwards, and I want to start with, why is Mike Vrabel not the head coach of the Tennessee Titans anymore?
Because he big dogged his boss, and there is a $2.6 billion stadium being built, courtesy of, not exclusively, but courtesy of Titans president and CEO Burke Nihill. There was a butting of heads between football and business. There should not be any really intertwining of football and business when it comes to the actual winning of football games, but the favorite son went from Mike Vrabel to, well, it went from Mike Mularkey to John Robinson to Mike Vrabel to Burke Nihill, who then hired Rand Carthon, who then hired Brian Callahan, and now Chad Brinker is here and Burke Nihill somewhere else. Those are the only two that are left out of this whole Game of Thrones style bullshit. But Mike Vrabel fell out of favor, and somebody else got in Amy Adams-Strunk's ear. And listen, Mike Vrabel is not somebody who is going to have the football component interfered with for the purposes of other things. And the Titans organization screwed it up royally when they started to mix or try and mix the business interests with the actual football people. That is not, Mike Vrabel is not there to do your marketing campaigns. He is marketable, certainly, but he is not there to capitulate to the business interest of the people trying to sell PSLs for a team that is currently 4-19 in its last 23 around the head coach that they hired to replace Mike Vrabel and then fired unexpectedly. By the way, not even the insiders had Brian Callahan fired. Schefter was on Pat McAfee 10 minutes before saying he didn't expect anybody to be fired. But Amy Adams-Strunk does a lot of weird shit. He fires a lot of people. We're 3.5 years in, or maybe not even 3.5, maybe 3 years in, and 4 executives or 4 Titans heads of states that have been fired. And Mike Vrabel is better off for it, frankly, because he got out from under a organization that is toxic and dysfunctional and went to an organization that was going to give him what he wants. Whether or not that works out for the long term, we'll see. But God knows he's got a quarterback that can make him look a hell of a lot more right.
Yeah, Drake May is the lifts all boats, or whatever, the tide that lifts all boats, whatever that saying is. He is playing at an elite level right now and has been for about the last month. You're talking about the politics that became involved with Vrabel's situation in Tennessee. How much responsibility does Mike bear for it ending the way it did and no longer being there? Could he have done something that would have enabled them to sort of survive that blip, if you will?
Maybe. I mean, he could have gone along to get along a little better, but that's not who he is. Like, that's not who you hired him to be. You got to understand that this person has seen things one way, or at least has had enough experiences in football to understand the things, the dumb shit that gets you beat and how to remove it.
Loves that saying.
Brother, I could write a book of Mike Vrabel isms. Hell, half of them are Ron Rivera. He just won't tell you that they're Ron Rivera. He's really not that original. If you really drill down on some of this stuff, I know he's going to see this, and
he's stuffing you in a locker. You're.
He spent 6 years stuffing me in a locker. You can't hurt me anymore. He could have been more diplomatic, but again, his focus is on winning football games. The rest of it is ancillary. It's unimportant. It's not his job to teach media football. It's not his job to capitulate to a more PR friendly version of Mike Vrabel. If that's not how the business or how the football needs to operate, yes, he could have been more diplomatic with his boss. He could have found more ways to work with Rand Carthon, I suppose, but they were doing things that were actively hurting the football product. And Mike Vrabel was sitting in a corner trying to scratch out a 6-11 season from a team that had no business winning 6 games at that point in time, and is now in New England. Which there was a lot of talk here, Giardi, about how much he actually wanted to be here at the end versus the flirtations with the Patriots and the Hall of Fame induction, which I'm sure we'll talk about, which felt like a bit of a tipping point as far as Titans ownership's relationship with Mike Vrabel. So, yes, could something have been done better? Probably. But was it the right thing to do? I don't think that anybody gets to look more right today anywhere in the NFL than Mike Vrabel and the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, so lost 18 of his final 24, right? Because they were 7-3. The year prior to his dismissal, then lost the final 7, and as you mentioned, barely cobbled together a 6-11 team with a roster that was pretty bereft of talent.
It was Derrick Henry and you and me. Like that's what was that. That was nothing.
How much of that though belongs to him as well? Because he was getting more power, right? How much influence did he have over the roster and who was on the roster?
Not enough to dig them out of the hole that John Robinson put them in, because they were 7-3. The most impressive thing that he's done is start 7-3 after they traded A.J. Brown out from under him, to be honest with you. I mean, it started during COVID. John Robinson's drafting, John Robinson, the former Titans general manager, former Patriots executive, his drafting fell off a cliff. He helped build them up into a championship contender, and then also helped. I mean, I don't think there's any single individual more responsible for lighting this franchise's future on fire than John Robinson, who still has not worked in football in any capacity since he was fired here in Tennessee in December of 2022, ironically enough, the Tuesday after the Titans got their ass literally whipped by A.J. Brown, who's towel whipping the goalpost en route to scoring 2 touchdowns, and Philadelphia Eagle fans are shooting Amy Adams Strunk a double bird, saying, thanks for AJ, you dumb, this, that, and the other. So Vrabel had roster control realistically for a year. John Robinson nuked 3 drafts and free agency on top of it. I mean, Vic Beasley, Isaiah Wilson, Jonathan Joseph, Treylon Burks, like all these different things that put Mike Vrabel's rosters in a talent deficit that he found ways to overcome. I'm not saying that Mike is going to be good at the personnel side of things, and God knows he and Ryan Cowden are running a hell of a lot of the show at this point. I feel you talk about stuff in the locker. How's Elliott Wolf doing up there in New England at this point in time, respectfully? I think that he deserved more credit than he got for what he was able to do, but they never, I mean, it just wasn't enough time. They're still not out of this hole. They have hired 2 more general managers and now 2 more coaches since Mike Vrabel was gone, and they're still in this talent hole.
Did you think he saw it coming? Did you think he saw the sort of the dissolution of his relationship with Amy, the dysfunction in the front office? You're talking about the business stuff. And then, as we mentioned, the inevitable Patriots Hall of Fame, where he says what he says to the fans. Be sure you embrace this, remember it. It's not like this everywhere else. That, I mean, if that wasn't just a big slap to the face of Amy, I don't know what was.
I mean, he's right. Giardi, I'm about 1.5 miles down the road from the Titans practice facility.
Yeah, but and I know, you may be right, but when you put it out there publicly, that changes everything.
Yeah, but at that point, I think he was over it. Like he could have found ways to be more diplomatic, and maybe he's still the Titans head coach. I don't know, but he wasn't. And he handled it the way that he did. And Amy Adams Strunk tends to freeze people out. She loves to fire people on a Tuesday. Shit. Brian Callahan's the only person who hasn't been fired on a Tuesday, which means she really was sick of that dude at this point in time. John Robinson, Mike Mularkey, Ken Wisenhunt, Mike Vrabel, Rand Carthon, all the day after the day after the game, 2 days removed from the game, because she's got to have somebody talk her off the ledge. She's got people whispering in her ear. She's removed from the situation half the time because she doesn't live in Nashville, Tennessee. So it's easier for her to drop in and drop out and freeze out coaches or executives that she's prepared to move on for. So yeah, there's no way. I know for a fact he knew it was coming, and you know how he handled everything else after the fact. You probably need to ask him about it.
Oh, well, you can ask him. That doesn't mean you're going to get an answer.
Why? You can ask him in the right settings. You might get an answer.
Maybe. Did his style of coaching, did it wear thin, do you think, at the end too? On top of the, I mean, look, obviously, if you don't have talent, it's gonna root. It's gonna eventually be a problem. But did his style wear?
Oh yeah, I mean, he's a jerk. Like he's a jerk about things, right? Like, and so fans got tired of I wouldn't say being dismissed, because Mike Vrabel's not directly dismissing fans, but he's dismissing fans' questions on behalf of media and things like that. It's not his job to teach us or the fan base football. It's his job to win football games. I think people, it's a lot of fun when you're leading the division. You've got Drake May, you're 4-2, and Buffalo just lost, to be Mike Vrabel and swatting flies down at press conferences and things like that. But when you've lost 7 in a row after blowing a division lead in 2022, the way that they did, and Todd Downing, the offensive coordinator, is essentially just beating his head against a wall because they have no answers. They have no great schematic advantage there. And Vrabel stuck with Todd Downing. To his credit, he's loyal to his people. Obviously, they're all up in New England. Half the Titans roster, almost the entire Titans coaching staff is back up in New England with Vrabel. So God knows he'll stick with you if he believes in what you're doing or what you can bring to the table. But he couldn't survive the attrition of people picking off his coaching staff. He also ran coaches out of town. Dean Pease retired. Then Mike Vrabel got him out of retirement, and then he retired again. And then all of a sudden he pops up in Atlanta with Arthur Smith. Tyrone McKenzie, linebacker coach. Doesn't mean that those coaches were doing their job correctly, but like Mike doesn't suffer certain people after a while. And we brought it up on our first taping of this edition of the podcast, but he does it to players too. And that can also start to chip away at the effectiveness of a football team if you are as overbearing and as demonstrative as Mike Vrabel can be. So yeah, it wore, and they weren't winning at the end. And so it was easy to look at him and being like, oh, this jerk, he's enough of this guy.
As we're in the first year of the quote-unquote honeymoon stage, Pats fans love him. As you can imagine, they're in first place. Like, what's not to love? And they're coming off the Gerard Mayo experience and even the end of the Belichick experience, which is very just gross. It disintegrated. Yeah.
That right now. Yeah.
I know, right? That disintegrated quickly, and it's still disintegrating now at North Carolina. What was he like in the first year at Tennessee? Because one of the things that we've noticed here, or I've noticed, and I think other people have talked about, is really defensive of his players. Ramondre Stevenson is fumbling in big spots, going into the end zone. He keeps throwing him out there, says we need him, keeps, patting him on the back and keeps sending him out there. Not that that's necessarily what's happening behind closed doors, but publicly supporting his guys. There have been other questions about players and like, no. You guys don't know what you're talking about. Like, this guy's doing this and this is that. Is that part of the Mike Vrabel experience and part of how he gets the players to buy in to what he's selling?
Yeah, he's going to have their back to a point, right? I mean, it's not blind trust at this point in time. I think that for the purposes of the roster, he'll give guys opportunity to prove him wrong, essentially. And it does take some effort to prove him wrong. If he sees your talent, if he believes in your talent, he's like just about any other coach in the NFL. They all have some extent of I can fix him to them, and sometimes to their detriment. They signed Andre Dillard. Mike Vrabel was a part of signing Andre Dillard to play left tackle here, and that was an I can fix him moment. That did not go well. Jadeveon Clowney. And Clowney ended up having a career best year after he left Tennessee, but Mike Vrabel was heavily involved in the decision to bring Clowney in here, and it was a catastrophe from start to finish. They essentially lit $21 million on fire between Clowney and Vic Beasley, who was John Robinson's. Who John Robinson ended up pursuing more than Vrabel did. So it, again, not perfect, and he can make bad decisions on who he puts his trust in or who he puts his belief in, because he also believes in his ability as a coach to maximize those. And we've seen that, right? I've seen him win games with Dontrell Hilliard and Buster Skrine and Titans legend Adrian Peterson after Derrick Henry suffered a broken foot against the Indianapolis Colts. Like, this dude can manufacture success. It may be hideous, but he can manufacture success out of some pretty bare bones talent situations. So he's right more than he's wrong on these guys, and he will give them the opportunity to prove him wrong.
It's interesting because the Belichick had that thing where, like, give me the average run-of-the-mill player and I can make him good. I can make him good. I can win with that guy. Mm-hmm. And Vrabel has that in him. But you said there's other coaches too that feel like, oh, I can do this. But then when you really push him, it's like, well, if you don't have talent, you're not going to win. And obviously, he's looking at a roster that they turned over more than 50% of in the offseason, that has seen Drake May take the leap from year 1 to year 2. And now all of a sudden it's like, they're better than we thought they were. And the coach looks really smart with some of the things that he's doing. Helped them win a game, with him and John Stryker in the booth this past weekend. Some of the challenges that they had against New Orleans, the operation, it's like, I remember there being some buzz in Tennessee, some people in the media thinking he was a little overrated, but early at least, it looks like he has a great grasp of what he's doing on the sidelines. There's an advantage there that other teams don't have.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad coaches in the NFL as well. So, like, overrated in comparison to what? I just watched Brian Callahan in the season opener at Denver not know the rules about one elbow does in fact equal 2 feet, and be adamant with us in a press conference, Giardi, after the fact that we didn't know. He wasn't saying you don't know the rules, I do, but he was like, no, one elbow does not equal 2 feet in that particular situation. It's been much discussed, much covered. At this point, people can go back and look at the examples, or botch the sideline operation for getting the kicking ball in. If I hear the words K-ball one more time in my life, blood is going to start spouting from my ears because my blood pressure is so high. So in comparison to what is Mike Vrabel overrated, I think is the proper way to contextualize this, because there are more bad coaches than there are good. There are people who are not a plus on the sideline. In fact, they can be an active detriment. Mike Vrabel and John Stryker. John Stryker deserves a tremendous amount of credit. Stretch is a stud. The combination of the two of them, the acumen of the two of them, the way that they run. Stretch isn't, the head coach, but he's got about as much sway and as much credibility as Vrabel does, because he helps set guys up for success in terms of what to know as far as the rule book, what to know as far as the officiating technique, all these different things. And they are a really effective combination, the two of them together. And Sean McVay hired Stretch while Mike Vrabel was out of football for a year, and Vrabel was very, very quick to snatch that back up, because you can see, by the way, a head coach can't do it all himself. I don't know how effective Vrabel would be in a lot of these situations if he didn't have an effective extra set of eyes as Stretch does, because I brought up the Brian Callahan situation, the now fired Titans head coach. He's telling us that his guy in the booth, his eyes in the booth, was telling him that catch that wasn't that catch that was actually a catch that was ruled an incompletion was not worth challenging at the time, and everybody else in the world knows that's a thing. And the only reason that Tennessee fans know is because I saw Mike Vrabel and Stretch get away with it in Baltimore with Jonnu Smith and a butt cheek touchdown in a divisional round to upset the number 1 seed overall Baltimore Ravens back in 2019. Like, this is you have to keep things in context. There's a lot of bad coaching in the league, so you can look at guys who are even reasonably above average and say, yeah, okay, overrated. Maybe he's not Shanahan. He can't scheme it up offensively with pieces and parts the way that Kyle can, or there's other examples of head coaches who are able to be effective. But Mike Vrabel is upper echelon. Nobody should question that at this point.
Yeah, I just go tell people, go look at that 2021 season where they end up as the number 1 seed and had how many guys on the injured reserve. Like, that team had no business being
92. It was a record, literally a record.
They ran through so many players that year, and the thing that kept winning them games was how smart they were and the toughness, which, clearly is what the coach wants. There's the play demeanor, play style. He got those guys in there and they played hard for him. It unraveled in the playoff game when Tannehill throws 3 picks against the Bengals, but like, that team wasn't a number 1 seed with what they had on the roster at that point, and they still got there. So we have the game on Sunday. It's not just Vrabel, it's Stretch. It's all these other people coming back. There's plenty of players on the roster. They were in Tennessee. What kind of response did they get from the Tennessee crowd?
It'll be sparse. It will not be a heavily attended game. I imagine Patriots fans will make the trip because Nashville is a fun destination city. I just got back from Las Vegas, where they're accustomed to seeing 70, 30, 60, 40 opposing fans visiting. Titans fans, there were 8 to 10,000 empty seats in Las Vegas. A lot of people pointing out that doesn't typically happen, no matter who the opposition is coming in to play the Raiders at this point in time. So the fans that will be there will be split. There were plenty of people who thought Mike Vrabel needed to go when he was fired. There are plenty of people who have changed their position on that since seeing how badly the organization without Mike Vrabel has flamed out. And there's always a contingent of people, including myself, frankly, that thought they never should have made a decision and that Vrabel was more right than he was wrong, even if some of the obstinance about Mike Vrabel was not necessarily to be encouraged in certain circumstances, right? Context matters for all of these things. So, I would say 55-45 pro Vrabel of the people that are in attendance. But, fans still want to see their team win. They want to see Cam Ward have success. They want to see Cam Ward go blow for blow if he can with a guy like Drake May. I don't think that's likely at this point in time, but we'll see. But I would imagine that there is applause at some point for Mike Vrabel. And Giardi, as I've mentioned to you before, they're too busy booing the shit out of all of the other people who work for the Titans organization to worry about booing Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, it's interesting. Mike was asked the question on Monday in his press conference about, there's things that are interesting and things that are important about going back. And it's probably very
also a Ron Rivera line. Don't let him tell you.
Look, you find what works for you, and then you just co-opt it as your own. That's just the way the business rolls. But I wasn't planning on writing about that until middle of the week, and just the timetable got sped up here. And I did talk to a former Titan who's still in the league and didn't, please don't use my name, but he's like, you don't think he's going there to win by 3, do you? Like, he wants to shake his ass at those people. I'm paraphrasing here, but he wants to show them they made a mistake. And I don't think any score is big enough for him to want to beat them by, to say like, hey, you guys screwed this up. I should still be here.
At his very best, he is he's a vindictive asshole. Like, he is coming for blood. He is coming to squeeze the life out of you, Darth Vader style, except he wants his big old bare paw around your throat as opposed to doing it from the distance Force style. He wants to feel you go down when you finally cave. And God knows that Tennessee, in the way that it's played out, there are plenty of people who are looking at them and saying, what the hell are you doing? There are plenty of people who, when he was fired, looked around and said, what the hell are you doing? But now, even more so, with the place that he's got the Patriots, with the way that the Titans have imploded themselves, there is no question this is failure on the Titans organization as much as anything else that has gone wrong here. And Vrabel, to his credit, as is his right, is going to try and run up the score on them. Now, I don't know what kind of challenge the Titans will present, if there will be some kind of bump from an interim coach. They still have Jeff Simmons, who is a problem. And as far as I can tell, the Patriots haven't fixed their offensive line situation. So there are still things here that can slow what seems to be the inevitable, but the inevitable does feel like it's coming for Tennessee, which is that Mike Vrabel is going to take his boot and step on their necks.
Vrabel already won, right? They fired Callahan before he even gets there, so that he's not responsible for Callahan getting fired. They had to get it done before he got there and maybe put his foot on their neck.
Yeah, they look scared. They look like cowards, and the ownership here is gutless, because she doesn't even show up for the photo ops anymore when she hires people, because they've been hiring so many people. She wasn't here for Mike Borgonzi, the new general manager's press conference. She was not here for the firing of Brian Callahan yesterday. Sending her envoys, Chad Brinker, out there to speak on her behalf, and she has empowered people to speak on her behalf. Giardi, she's not even making statements. She's not even making statements anymore. They're not even releasing statements from ownership. The statement came from Chad Brinker yesterday, the president of football operations. Like, they look scared shitless of a guy who hasn't even beat them yet. He won. He can light up a victory cigar today if he wants to, but he won't, because he's a psychopath and he wants to kill them even worse.
Yes, yes, a psychopath, and we say that with all due respect, right?
Oh no, he knows what he is.
He's totally stuffing you in the locker when he sees you. And I'm going to be
I
there to
have said so many worse things to this man and gotten away with it. It's a wonder that he hasn't beaten my ass already.
Before I ask you quickly about your team, I do have to tell everybody about PrizePicks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app in North America. Download the app, use the code CLNS to get $50 off in lineups off your first 5 that you don't even have to win. Again, download the app, use the code CLNS to get 50 off lineups off your first 5. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. And remember, 2 players up to 6 to win up to 1,000 times your cash. It's just more or less your stat projections. Do you like Drake May to light up the Tennessee secondary? Well, you look at that number, you take more on that. Do you think, I don't know, Patriots can't run the football? Less on Ramondre Stevenson. So again, download the app. It's great. Titans aren't going into bankruptcy because they have an organization that is in a cash cow that is the National Football League. They're building this new stadium. But as you mentioned, will the people show up? Because this organization has absolutely fallen off the map. It's a toss-up between them and the Jets. Who's the bigger dumpster fire, right? The Jets are 0-6. Tennessee's 1-5, but that was a gift from the Arizona Cardinal football gods. And the way that game ended, if you didn't see it, go back and watch the final quarter. Just absurdity in that contest. I guess I want to focus on Cam Ward because #1 pick in a year where maybe the quarterbacks, it's not the greatest quarterback class. This isn't the quarterback class of the Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, that whole group, 6 guys in the first, whatever it was, 12 picks. What have you seen from him? And is he weathering the storm of being on he called it ass, right? A bad football team that's 1-5.
God bless him. He is just, they need somebody to raise a standard around here. And it's a 23-year-old rookie quarterback who's drowning out there. He's got more fortitude than his ownership group, for God's sakes. And he's out there battling. Now, the problem is he's not playing well. Like, objectively, he's not playing well. They are a bad football team. He is not getting much support. The coach was fired because they were not making sufficient enough adjustments to help Cam Ward succeed. But he is also not performing well. He had a Levis-esque fumble in Las Vegas at the end of the game. And maybe the game was over at that point anyway, but it definitely sealed the fate where the football just falls out of his hands. Raiders recover. He is at the point where he is trying to force things and is, on the verge of developing bad habits because he's just trying to press and make a play. He's holding the ball too long. He's not sufficiently protected, even though they invested sufficient draft capital and free agency dollars in the offensive line unit this year as a means to support Cam Ward. He has no skill group to speak of. It's the corpse of Tyler Lockett and Calvin Ridley on bad hamstrings out there. Calvin Ridley just finally decided to show up in that fourth quarter in Arizona. He's been MIA for the vast majority of the season, and the other 2 are 2 fourth-round rookies that they may or may not have hit on, but it's impossible to try. The degree of difficulty for Cam Ward is greater, I would say, than your average, even your average #1 overall pick going to a bad football team. The thing that he has at his advantage is that he just doesn't care about anything but winning football games. Like, he has no other interest. There's no nationally televised mayonnaise campaign commercial or commercial campaign around it. There is no interest in other things. He has a dog. He talks to his teammates, his dog, his parents, and that's it. And he cares about football and fishing, and far more football than the latter. So you have somebody who is wired with competitive toughness that I think is difficult to find, even in professional sports. Like, this dude is undaunted. But the thing that concerns you is that there is a demeanor about him that is uneffable with. Like, you can't bother him, except they are bad enough that they are now starting to frustrate him publicly. In that, I wouldn't call it an outburst. It's just a factually accurate assessment of who they are. They are ass. And he said, we are ass. It's not they, we. He understands that he's not playing up to his own standards, but he is also, I think it was a shot across, unintentionally, but a shot across the bow of the organization. Hey, you guys talk a lot about all the different things that we're going to accomplish, all the great things that we're going to go on to do, and nobody's actually doing them. It's really him, Jeff Simmons, Bones Fossil, who's coming in to just stick a finger in the dam to keep the water from just overcoming them on special teams. at this point in time. There's about, you could count on a hand and a half how many people are actually doing their jobs to support Cam Ward in this endeavor. My great fear is that they'll ruin him.
So you mentioned some things, the lack of protection, the holding the ball too long. These were Drake May things last year. And it was the coaching, Brian Callahan doesn't make it out of his first year. Gerard Mayo makes it for exactly one season before they bounce him. So it can be saved, assuming you get the right people in leadership positions. And, Mike Borgonzi doesn't really have, as the GM, doesn't really have his fingerprints all over this roster yet, right? Like there's a lot of pieces. JC Latham, you're talking about the offensive line. That's a Rand Carthon pick that looks like, I don't know, might he be a guard?
He got dusted by Matt. Listen, plenty of people are going to get got by Max Crosby, but like Mike Stilver had a really good story in The Athletic today it's mostly about Cam Ward, but it's also about the Titans and the practice habits and things like that. Jeff Simmons is having to son, big brother, JC Latham a little bit because Jeff Simmons didn't feel like his practice efforts were sufficient enough, which is crazy because that's not who JC Latham has been his entire career. He played at Alabama. This is a high-level, high pedigree, excellent football player that comes here and all of a sudden he's struggling with it. The losing is wearing on all of them. And I don't think that Latham's incapable of playing right tackle. I just think the work that this famous offensive line guru Bill Callahan did here is yet the fruit. We have yet to see the benefits of that. Now he's gone because they fired his son and Bill resigned. So I don't know what to do with the Latham thing. I know they paid Dan Moore $82 million and he's been bad to slightly average at his best at this point in time. I know they paid Kevin Zeitler $9 million, who's been excellent his entire career. And all of a sudden, because he's 35 and he's played 15 years of football, the wheels are falling off and the Titans happen to get him. I know they paid Lloyd Cushenberry more guaranteed money than a center's ever gotten. And he's, he blew out his Achilles in mid-November last year and is working his way back. But it's the timeline for the young quarterback, it's not enough. And Skoronski and Latham are both top. Latham was the 7th overall pick in the draft, Skoronski the 11th. Skoronski's actually the best part of that offensive line right now, but Latham, who's missed 4 games with a hip strain and came back in there just to get his ass whipped on Sunday, they looked as bad as they've been all year, and that's the healthiest the offensive line has been all year, Giardi.
Yeah, it's a really difficult spot, and it has to be. I'm sure you'll be monitoring it all along to see how he deals with the just crap that's going on around him. And like you mentioned, the receiver position too. I mean, they paid Ridley big money, and look, Ridley came with some questions, but he's had moments, right? Last year he picked some guys up around him and had a pretty good season, and now it's like, well, do I really want to do this?
Giardi, have you seen these glasses that they have him wearing?
No.
These are go look at I think it's Teron Davenport's timeline. It's been a couple of weeks ago. You can do it after the fact. And honestly, Harrison, I don't know if you do any of this in post, but if you could find a picture of these things, like the audience is going to be stunned when they see they're human horse blinders that they've got on Calvin Ridley. They are these peripheral blocking glasses that just have him able to see out of his direct eye line to get him to concentrate on the football. I've never seen anything like it in my life. They literally look like human horse blinders for Calvin Ridley because he's struggling to catch the football as a $92 million player. It's people, the rot that is the Tennessee Titans organization here from top to bottom. I don't know how it is that all these football players who have had success everywhere else, all these coaches who have had success everywhere else come here and just can't do the thing that they've been doing their entire careers all of a sudden, and now they need this ridiculous level of support to just be able to be functional, and they're not even that.
These glasses, I'm staggered by the whole thing, but it is the perfect encapsulation of what the Tennessee Titans football team has become over the last several seasons. Buck, I appreciate you being with us, even though you tried to screw us with the whole video, non-video thing. And you were on fire in that first 15 minutes that people are never going to see. It just went away. It's gone.
Well, lucky for them, I talk a lot for a living, so you'll catch me at a hot streak at another point in time. It's just, unfortunately for you, you damn vulture, you're not going to get it for your benefit.
Damn it. Come on. That's the whole point of this. It's the yin and yang, the give back and forth. He is Buck Reising, 104.5, A to Z Sports, Fox Sports National on weekends. Mr. Big Time, thank you for being with us. This is the All 32 Pod. We'll see you again at the end of the week. Until then, toodaloo.